Copyright University of Auckland, all rights reserved. The content and delivery of lectures in this course are protected by copyright. Material belonging to others may have been used in these lectures and copied by and solely for the educational purposes of the university under license. You may record the lectures for the purposes of private study or research, but you may not sell, alter, or further reproduce or distribute any part of these lectures to any other person. Failure to comply with the terms of this warning may expose you to legal action for copyright infringement by the copyright owner and/or disciplinary action by the university.
Good morning. I'm happy to have opportunity to present.
This is the presentation format for the recording.
So for me, this is a good opportunity to share our experience about how we have a connection with the vulnerable group. And I'm happy that I also meet my lovely friend, Laksmi, who also conduct this research, so I already mentioned her name. And Mas Teguh, also from Surabaya, and Mbak Tita also from Jakarta. So if I have any problem with my language, so I will. Okay, thank you very much. So this is the research that already funded by Oxfam, because Oxfam have a problem with some group of people who live in Bima Bay because of the saline inundation and also because sea level rising. And we think that this is a good opportunity for us to understand how this problem will be solved. Okay. This is my presentation outline, background, research objectives, methods, research location, result, and conclusion and recommendation as like usual. So I still write in the red because I think this is, this is the important information. There are several groups of community in coastal area who began to report that their agriculture land, fish, shrimp, and salt ponds were impacted by the seawater intrusion and the change of salinity level. So this is resulting disturbances to the production of their agriculture and fish farming. And our study promote the understanding of the interrelationship of several factors that affect the household, women, and small farmers in Bolo and Woha sub-district in Bima district in West Nusa Tenggara. Anyone have experience come to Bima or Lombok? So Lombok is near the Bali Islands, east of Bali Islands. So our research objective, first, the study is conducted to improve knowledge on reciprocal relation between several factors that affect life of household, women, and small farmers living in two sub-districts, Bulu and Woha in Bima. And based on that knowledge, interaction between variables that affect risk, vulnerability, and capacity of community adaptation will be developed. So we choose this district because this district is almost, have an impact of sea level rising and the salinitas inundation. And our method, we use the ethnography approach. The study is more reflective than verification activity. So we just want to know what we hear, what we listen, what we see from the people, what they feel about the natural changes, and we make participant observation and in-depth interview. And we stay maybe almost 1 month. So this is the research location. Bali, Lombok, if you see the map, Indonesian map, Java Islands, and after that we will see Bali and Lombok, and this one is where the location will be our research. So we have research in this location Bima. Bima is located in Bima Bay. So Bolo and Muha are located in this place. Now I will tell you about the coastal community life in Talapiu. Talapiu village is one of the 15 villages located in the administration area of Wuha sub-district. And Talapiu village is the fish producer village of milk fish, salt and rice. And comparing with the rice fields, the production of the pond is more satisfying because it has two benefits. They can catch the milk fish while they still can do the salt pond, which is not too difficult to cultivate. So this is the location, so near the Bima Bay. And this is how the people in Talapiu live. Mostly they work in agriculture and either as pond farmer or paddy fields farmer, while others work in the transport sector as motorcycle drivers. And generally Talapiu background is Bima and Bugis culture, which influenced more by Muslim. Which one? Now we look at the community in Indonesia. Indonesia, their type of livelihood of the population was working as a farmer, 65%, and the farmer workers almost 35%. In addition, there are small part of the working population as civil servants, fishermen, entrepreneurs, police, army, and so on. And other interesting things of this monograph data is the absence of residents who work as migrant worker. So we don't have any number of this. And the majority of citizens Indonesia is coming also from Bima and Bugis, as the same as in Talapiu. And besides we do the qualitative research, we also want to know how about the quality of the water, how the salinity. And we found that the well water and rice field no longer pure fresh water but already contains salt, although it just appears slightly. And while the relatively high level of salinity and brackish water exceed the water ponds, fish and seawater in both the tide and low tide condition, and the highest salinity found in the salt pond water. So we already want to know that why the people they want to use the well water, because they feel that the taste is now more salty and make the field rice also cannot grow up well. This is the environmental change. Paddy fields become salty and cannot be planted. Well water becomes salty and cannot be consumed. Seawater flow into the ponds because the sea level rising, and there is no mangrove surrounding the Bima Bay. And ponds water temperature becomes erratic. Ponds are not protected by mangroves. Okay. So this is the situation. Although there is a mangrove, but it's only a small one. Okay, how is the public response? Because of that situation, now land conversion of unproductive paddy fields into ponds. So people choose to change their paddy fields become the ponds, and damaged ponds submerged seawater is left dormant. And using technology to deal with a surge of seawater into the pond, for example, a mechanical system of pond channels, saturizing the dike embankment, and somehow using the wellbore drilling to obtain the fresh water. So their life become more resilient now. This is the woman's productive role. Women also work in the rice field, but they also have to work in the milk fish pond. So there are many activities that the women have to do. But sometimes women receive lower wage than men, although they work in the same time in the same activity. So that's the Indonesian problem, because they think that man is more powerful and men get higher wage than the woman. And this is the woman's reproductive role.
Some of our informants say that only women who deserve to live and work in the village, since being an adventure is not considered as the nature of women. So most of the women still stay in their house, cleaning the house, prepare meals, and washing clothes. Maybe this is because of also influenced by Muslim perspective about women have to become in the back and men in the front, and also influenced by Bugis culture. And this is how women access to resources. Women and men get different parts of the heritage. Paddy fields are for the women, while ponds are for the men. And women's access to wetland and pond is limited. So this is how the women access to the resources in Bima. And this is what we found, women's vulnerability. They have a vulnerable problem with their food security and clean water availability, and the availability to have income generating activities, because this is the last idea we found, which is because there is already a mainstream about women have to stay at home, so it's difficult for them to go outside. And this is our conclusion. First, the community life of Talapiu and Sondosia are highly dependent on environmental conditions or vulnerable to damage, especially the damage caused by the climate change and the degradation of environmental quality. And the second, life in Sondosia and Talapiu society is highly dependent on seasonal condition. Agriculture activity, salt ponds, and fish ponds can only be done by referring to the condition on the ongoing season. So they will go to the paddy field if the season is fine for the paddy, but like the wet season, they will go to the paddy field, and for the dry season, they will go to the salt pond. And the last, dependent situation on the market. So although their salt, and this is the example, although the salt is in the high quality, but if the buyer want the price is more lower, they cannot do anything. And we also found that if they try to looking for the other buyers, it also make the problem, because it already have close connection. And yeah, so and our recommendation, to see the dynamic changes that have taken place, it needs to be explored by more research and participatory research exercise with residents of local community as part of the mitigation of climate change risk reduction, and to reduce the vulnerability of women in the Gulf region. Milk would require additional knowledge for women in order to have the capacity to manage the farm and pond and on competitive basis. Additional knowledge, it means that the women have to be more welcome to other, skill, because now their activity is just surrounding their village. The differences between the natural and the social condition of Talapiu and Talapiu and Sondosia require intervention to address local needs. Okay, that's what we found. And is there any comment? So maybe we can develop this research more better than what we already found. Thank you very much.
We can have questions and answers now for this one, and then you can present the second part.
Yeah, that's why.
Any questions?
Is there any same experience as what we found?
I see that when you talk about the how the villagers was highly dependent on the price of the market, selling the goods.
Yeah.
So do these villagers operate on getting income through selling commodities rather than substantial farming for their own existence? Did I say it right?
Are they farming their own livelihoods?
Yeah, do they make enough food to live on within a village, or are they kind of forced to sell to make money to buy food?
For the main food from the rice, they already have, but they need more another food to complete their need. So they have to sell the salt and buy something. But some people say that we can live and we can eat although only rice and the fish from the fish pond. But somehow now people want to have more, different life by motorcycle, television, and others that make them very dependent on the market. So there is no, protection from the government. And we've also found that some farmers who make salt also use the, karung, what is it? The sack, and it's written Madura salt, because Madura became the famous place where the salt produced. That's how the people, they want the salt more salt.
A follow-up question. Within these villages, are there any political structure that sort of have dialogue with higher up government agencies? Perhaps,
Yeah.
I know in China, in rural villages, they have this thing called trade union,
Yeah.
where farmers are, they kind of go there sort of at protection for farmers. They always try to regulate the price. So at time of hush time, they sort of manage the supply and demands of things, so people don't get too exploited. So is there any sort of political structure within these villages that sort of creates a dialogue?
Yeah. When we conduct this research, we also meet the government, and there is no protection from the government. So this is just like something, it's for us also confusing. Why the government doesn't have any role to make the protection? So this is like just, the wild situation, because the farmer have to survive with their own way. Yeah, we already talked to the government, to the development agency Bapeda, and say about, hey, we found that now your farmers already put the salt in the bag, in the sack, and without any written as Bima salt, and they already write as Madura salt. So what's your opinion? Oh yeah? So they just think that this is it's common problem. So that's why. Yeah. That's why Oxfam want to do something for this matter. That's why Oxfam asked our center, because the government solution of saline inundation or sea level rising, they want to move the community in the fish pond to the uphill. That's why it's very problematic. I hope I can visit them again, this place again, and doing something.
Beyond sea level rise, is there any issue with land subsidence?
I don't think so.
Is the small delta playing? Or
Yeah, small.
Has it been studied already? Potential subsidence?
When this research conducted, there is no study. That's why this is like a first research, and that's why we asked Oxfam to have more research about this, have a cooperation with different perspective.
That leads to my follow-up question from Harry's question as well. When you said you visited Pampanga, in Pampanga the issue is not sea level rise, it's land subsidence. In some places it's 3 to 4 cm a year.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And the Pampanga Delta in the Philippines was rice farming basically until the 1980s, and then it became almost exclusively now fish ponds. And it's the whole structure of the society which has changed, because rice farming was mostly self-subsistent, and now it's selling the fish to buy rice in exchange. So it's changed from a mostly self-sufficient society to a cash economy. People selling fish and shrimps and crabs to buy
another
goods.
food. Yeah.
And here it may be a bit different because you have the salt beforehand, which is sold on the market.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much my question would be how much the society has changed over the past few decades because of increasing salinity and in terms of the structure of the society. Changing potentially from self-sustance farming to cash farming. Or aquaculture.
Yeah, because this is also the first research. I mean, not complete one. So the people in the ponds, I mean the farmer in the ponds, feel that they cannot move to another place because they feel this is our ancestor life. So when the idea of move to another place come, it will become very difficult for them because they cannot, because they have a different daily activity like this one. So
has the settlement pattern changed? Because when you have rice fields, you usually have clustered settlements.
yeah, they
When
cross.
you have fish ponds, you have dispersed houses because you need to care for your fish every day to give food to the fish
Yes.
every day.
So
has the settlement pattern changed as well?
yeah. So the area is like this is our house, and near the hill, they have a rice field, and in front of their house they have ponds.
Okay.
That's why
They've got both.
both. Yeah.
Okay. Who owns the land and who owns the fish ponds and the salt ponds as well?
The farmer.
The farmers?
Yes. They already have a certificate that they have the land for the rice field and also for the ponds. So this is belong to their family, in the family property.
So when you said the women get lower wages than the men,
Yes.
are they working for someone else?
Yeah. I also write at my slide that women also help their husband, but somehow they also help their neighbor as a laborer in the other field, and they receive lower wage than the men.
Okay, so it's not a shared labor. You work in my field when I need
Yeah.
you, and you work in my one when.
Different. Now Indonesia is become changing. Maybe some groups still doing without any money, just social activity. But now everyone need money. So if you ever know about sambatan in Indonesia, how people doing in the groups, yeah, maybe that's only for the relatives, close relatives. But if different relatives, neighbor will be paid. Yeah.
Thank you for an interesting project. I'm intrigued by your suggestion. The only practical situation is additional knowledge for the woman. Why do you think that additional knowledge for the woman will solve or at least address the situation? Because I haven't seen you explain the potentialities, key role of women to address this difficult situation. And I'm not sure that more knowledge at change at individual level among women can address the global climate change and the weak government and the neoliberal pressure of market demand and everything. So I'm intrigued with that.
Yeah. We write this recommendation because first we think that because women cannot going out far away from their house, and now their environment become changing, and they need more money to fulfill their life. So we think that a woman need more, achievement knowledge about how they can produce the fish spawn, not only sell the raw one, but maybe make something different. And also we found that there are many food can produce from the fish. That's why we think that a woman can doing something, although their money now for the families become lower because the natural changes.
I see. So the entrepreneurial discourse is quite
Yes.
strong in
Yeah.
Indonesia.
Yeah.
And that escape the government from their responsibility to take care of the people.
Yeah. I'm sorry to say that if New Zealand people can have a community engagement in disaster, although they don't know each other, because they can rely to the government. Depend to the government. But people in Indonesia cannot rely to the government. They have a different perspective. Some people not trust with the government because corruption. So Oxfam, what Oxfam thing is about how to increase the prosperity without government. That's also what I learned from New Zealand for almost 2 weeks. Why the community engagement at here can doing something to respond to disaster. But in Indonesia, it's very difficult to have a community engagement. Although I know my neighbor, but it's difficult. Okay.
I have 2 questions.
Yes.
The first one is that you conducted your research with women and you assess the vulnerability and capacity of those with women. Did you find out what type of women who are the most vulnerable to sea level rise?
The most vulnerable woman, I think, is women who already married, have a children, because Muslim and Buddhist culture have a perspective that women who already have children have to stay at home.
They have their husband.
Yes. Yes.
And the second question is like any action from the NGO, the non-government
Yes.
organization with those vulnerable.
Yeah. Oxfam have a plan to doing something with that vulnerable group, because Oxfam feel that if we just refer to the government, it never happened. That's why Oxfam asked our center to have an assessment for doing something for this community who already have a risk because the sea level, natural changes like that. Yeah. Woman first.
Thank you. Sorry for being late. It's very interesting when you talk about Indonesian context and Indonesians.
Yeah,
So I
welcome.
know it's very difficult to work with the government.
Yeah.
However, when we talk about development and sustainable development, we can't just get away from the government
Yeah.
role. And
Yes.
based on your experience in this particular place, is there any effort to from the NGOs to kind of channel in whatever program that they have with the Office of Women Empowerment? I know
Yeah.
that in every district they do have the Women Empowerment Office. Based on your experience or during the research, is there any efforts to link
With the government.
to the local development planning
Yeah.
in the name of sustainable, of course?
Yeah. I think that is our challenge as a researcher, doing something and have to be implemented. But yeah, our government, not all of them welcome if we say a bad thing. Yes. And some of them say that it's common, it's no problem. although we already found, okay, you have a problem with the woman, and if you just depend on your resources, I mean the bonds and the field, it will be problem with your life, yeah, like that. So after this research, we come to the Bapeda office and say something about our first assessment, and they just smile. Okay, thank you. And that's Oxfam continue this research with some program, because Oxfam think that we will have to do something, prove something, then the government will see that okay, this work. So the government have to be improved that our work is already important to the community. Sorry, I cannot mention, how the Oxfam work with our research. So yeah, sometimes the NGO already asking us to doing research, and they don't give us feedback after our research what happened. Maybe if you have chance to ask Oxfam, that's very serious.
So in mentioning of, I've noticed you said there's not really any migrant worker within this village. And do you see that shift because people are starting to more and more do fish farming in the ponds and then going away from rice field? Do you feel that kind of change within this village, is it driven by environmental change, or is it driven by a socio-economic and a cultural change? Let's just say, are people forced to start fish farming because they can't rise due to the salt level anymore, or do they now prefer to selling cash crops and purchase goods? So, and then, the environmental change is something that sort of pushed that as well.
Yeah, this is also because of the culture background, the religion background. If you know Sumbawa Islands, where the Bima are located, some area there are high number of migrant workers, but in this area, because of the Muslim and Bugis, become their idea, become their perspective on their life. This perspective make the woman cannot go far away. Women have to stay at home because it's not our being life like that. So this is the number of the migrant worker at this place is lower. I also curious why they don't want to go abroad to Philippines or to Korea, but they feel that we have to stay at home doing something with family. And the men, because they have a responsibility with the ponds, they don't have any idea to go to become a migrant worker. And as you know, that Indonesian migrant worker mostly is women, not men.
Yeah. Just sharing my brother's experience.
Yeah.
He's working with Australian aid, distributing big money to to improve Indonesian farmers' productivity. And they decided that they do not want to build partnership with local government, because it's too corrupt and too weak. But they also don't want to build partnership with local NGOs because they are too short-lived. They don't have enough money to survive in the long run. So their decision is to build partnership with private sector to develop the life of the farmers, because they believe if it's profitable for the company, they will be there for quite a while.
Yeah.
So it's better for the donor. They believe it will. They will see a better result for the farmers if they build partnership with private sector. So they believe that maybe the key to socialism lies in the logic of capitalism itself. What do you think? Is there any possibility that we can improve the life of these people by building partnership, like Oxfam building partnership with business instead of government or NGO.
Yeah, I agree with you because we have some research also found that it's difficult to realize to the government because they think about the profit first, not doing something first, but how they can grab the money from the budget. Yeah, and the local NGO. Yeah, the local NGO, some of the NGO is, not really work for the people. So we call it NGO sofa, because only sit in the sofa and do something. So be careful.
So who's the private sector? What kind of
businesses?
What kind of businesses?
Like the fertilizer producer.
Yeah.
Is that right? Companies whose products, who have agriculture products. I don't know.
So it could be fingerlings for the fish ponds, could be feeds for the fish ponds, could be those kind of things. Dealers. Fingerlings, the baby fish. Or the feeds, or the
I don't know. Maybe I haven't thought about it. I just.
So this is not a real private, I think. So this company, I think, also have a social motivation, doing something with the people. So they help, maybe they help to give the good quality of seed, maybe baby fish or something, and help the farmer to sell the fish with a good price. But I think it's not a real company.
My brother believes have to be profitable.
Oh yeah.
For the company, totally purely business. Otherwise, it will be just short term.
There's a good model of that in Central Java and Malawi, isn't there? There's a business consortium which has got government involvement in it, but they've done just that. They've set up businesses, the agricultural businesses have gone in with their seeds and what have you, in a win-win kind of situation where they're still making money because they've got the farmers to trial some sort of different seeds in slightly different locations as a way of encouraging livelihoods, but away from some disaster areas around the market. So I don't know if you know anything more about that.
Yeah. I forget the name. UNDP?
And that set up in Central Java.
But the company, I forget.
It's a
I
provincial
think.
government arrangement. Trying to get the private sector involved. But we've been trying to get private sector engagement with the local government around the disaster risk reduction space, and it's proving to be really hard. Just
because
private
some
sector don't have very good relationships. The relationships are very weakly established. They don't see them as potential partners. They don't see why private sector might want to be involved, even from a social or corporate responsibility perspective. We're saying, they say they don't have any money and they can't get it from the government. The government hasn't got much money, and they said, well, I'm donors, so we'll go look at the private sector and try and work away. So we're trying to sort of explore that avenue and try and get some of those things going and trying to find some partners. So some of the pushback we've had in some of the areas we've been working in is that a lot of the big industry that have some money are often mining companies, and some of the local Whakaro or BBBD organisations see a bit of a conflict with trying to get money from mining companies to put into disaster risk reduction or environmental initiatives when it's kind of like, bad money, as we see as a bit of a I don't think it seems a very good signal.
It's kind of like Donald Trump and beauty pageants. Because Miss America, they claim to be the largest scholarship provider for women in America, which is actually true, but it is kind of, you know, what they do is kind of totally unrelated to scholarships. You know, it's like you don't really, getting scholarship reward on how you dress in a bikini and stuff like that. You know?
I'm moving just to debate another direction. You mentioned about addressing talking to women, quantitative data about women and their assessment and all the vulnerabilities.
Mm-hmm.
Did you find the whole Muslim religion perspectives, ideologies, the way that the community works as a barrier as a researcher from getting information, or did you sort of use those as an advantage to have an insight in how women work as a woman, like an insider rather than an outsider?
I think become barrier because the perspective of Muslim somehow has become their life. That's why. But some family now become changing after they get education more higher, and I mean they already just try to adapt the situation and not refer anymore very strong to the Muslim beliefs. Yeah.
Any further questions? Should we move to the second presentation?
Yeah.
This is the second presentation. This is preliminary research that we already, okay, this one. Okay. This is what I work with GNS for the START. START is the program for strengthening Indonesian resilience, reducing risk from disaster. And we work with 4 groups in Donggala, Mataram, Pesisir Selatan, and Bengkulu. We want to know how the women contribute to the DRR. And let's try. So we have an idea that disaster always have a different impact. Different impacts for the different gender groups. So from this theory, we want to know how the gender relation related to their culture, because those 4 groups have a different culture and different gender relation. Okay. The study purpose is first, we want to identifying the vulnerability of women when disaster occur. We also want to know identifying the DRR activities related to the women's needs, mapping the role and involvement of women in DRR activities in the context of relations between men and women, and opting the idea of DRR program planning. So this is part of the program to build the action plan for the DRR. And because most of the government official doesn't realize that there is a problem between men and women, we conduct this research to know how women already contribute the DRR and how we can improve. We use a qualitative approach, focus group discussion and interview. We invite the government, NGO, and also representative from those areas. And we doing this focus group discussion for maybe almost 3 hours. slowly try to asking question, and after that asking the other, because Indonesian people feel the same if they have a different opinion with the government, different opinion with the senior one, so takes time. So we have to be more patient to hear what their experience, what their perspective, their point of view. And I also make interview for some people that we found in the focus discussion is very interested to have a more interview, to gain the more information. This is what we do when we have a focus group discussion in Bengkulu. This is the GNS staff, and I'm happy that they can come to our focus discussion from the government, from the people representative, NGO, lecture. We want to know how their opinion about women contribute to the DRR. This is what we do in Padang, Pesisir Selatan, West Sumatra. West Sumatra is very interested to conduct a research because very matriarchy, women become more higher than the men. Okay, this is the local context. In Donggala, Mataram, Bengkulu, and Pesisir Selatan, they already knowing their hazard. Yes, ma'am, we understand that we have tsunami, earthquakes, floods. They already know then their hazard. But if we see the gender relation, we found that there are different relations between men and women. In Donggala, Mataram, and Bengkulu, they have the same patriarchy. And in Pesisir Selatan, as Minang tribe, women become more higher than a man. So I write this at here, matriarchy. So what we found, the vulnerability of women in times of disaster. Most of the groups say that disaster is considered as a form of power of God. So when we conduct this focus group discussion, first they feel that, oh, this is something that you already proceed to God if we talk something that not happened. Although I already make them understand that we want to talk something that maybe if the disaster happen, you will not injured by the earthquake or tsunami. This is make your life maybe more. If you are ready to face the disaster, you will be more safe. But they think that disaster is considered as a form of power of God. So nobody know when the disaster happened. This is kind of fatalism, I think. And women are considered weak. Some people feel that women are weak, doesn't have any power as men, and women's responsibility are not merely taking care of the interests of the nuclear family, but also the extended of family. That's why women have to be more take care to more than their family, the nuclear family. Women cannot decide for themselves when a disaster occurs. The men considered to be entitled to decide a family decision. Although some women say that we already understand when the tsunami happened, we have to go to another place. But because my husband asked me to look after my children and to watch our house property, so I cannot move anywhere. That's what we found in Bengkulu or another place. Only a small numbers of women who have knowledge about the hazard that occur in their area of their daily life. They live. Yeah, because talk about disaster actually only refer to the information from the mass media. If I ask about, is there any disaster topic in your women activity? In Indonesia, we have a women activity every month. No, we don't talk about disaster. Although their house is very close near the sea. How about earthquake? No, ma'am. So they just talk about disaster from one mouth to other mouth, just like gossip. not as very formal. Is there any information from the head of the village? Not yet. Although in their village there is vertical building for the vertical shelter. Vertical shelter, it means something that the tsunami will be happen in that village, but still haven't any information. And this is what we found: DRR activities related to the woman's interests. The benefit of DRR concept is not understood yet. Women are more familiar of response activities, so they think DRR is something that for what? Because disaster is not already happened. So they think about more response activities. Discussing DRR is considered preceding the power of God. That's what I said before. Women receive DRR activities generally in the term of socialization activity. And less DRR activities focusing on women on any activities, particularly capacity building. So they only invite women as logistic staff, cooking, provide the food, not doing something with like a man contribute for the DRR. Disaster information are obtained through the mass media and the conversation among them. So this is what happened in Indonesia. The disaster information is not as clear as what we have in maybe university, office. Yes?
Can I ask a quick question? Just an elaboration, if you wouldn't mind, around what you mean by socialisation activity. Is that just a one-way communication about?
Yeah, only one way.
Indonesian term. All Indonesians use it.
Yeah, socialization, yeah.
To clarify what it actually
Yeah. So only, yeah, sorry, yeah, I think I have to change. Yeah.
So you mean so it's a one-way?
Yes, only one way.
There's some information.
Yeah. Dissemination may be the best word to say. Thank you. And this is what women's role in DRR activities. In general, women involvement in the DRR activities such as disaster resilient village or village disaster preparedness, but still on the provision of logistic aspect. In Bengkulu, Donggala, and Mataram, women play an active role in the village disaster preparedness, but these women have a chance to take a active role because they have a high position in that community, like the son of the higher man, I think, not the common woman. And also in Pesisir Selatan, women are more involved in planning evacuation training. So this is a good news that now in Pesisir Selatan, women are already invited to join the planning, to make planning for the evacuation training. But in the other place like Bengkulu, Donggala, in Mataram, although they play the active role, they don't join the planning meeting. So they just follow what already decided in the meeting. This is the idea for DRR program planning. First, we increase the participation of women in DRR activities and gender mainstreaming in designing DRR program, budget allocation for women's role in DRR, alternatives regular program, women's participation like dissemination and training on DRR. So more active information about DRR and skill on livelihood diversification. Because we think that now we need to improve, give something for the community, alternative livelihood. People who live in the coastal is very dependent to the fish. Then we think about other livelihood. If the disaster happen, they can still live. Like in Lombok, NGO give a program about make a food from seaweed and I think it also make handicraft for something that already provide in their village. So that's all. Because this is still in the beginning of the research process. So please, any feedback or suggestion are welcome. Thank you.
Any questions, comments?
Oh yeah, please.
Quite interesting. Just something just struck me is a very interesting way in which the men make decisions on behalf of the women.
Yeah.
And you did say at some point the women know where to go and when to go. Probably they know the hazard, they know there's an hazard.
Yes.
so probably.
But because their husband.
But they have to wait for instructions,
Yes.
kind of thing.
Yes.
Where are the men at that time? Don't they organize the family and move together, or they have to go somewhere else?
Yeah. Sometimes they decide to move to another place, and sometimes they will decide, okay, we stay in this village, like that situation. Or the woman already now understand that we have to move if the earthquake is going in the long time. The tsunami will come. I mean, like the disaster alarm that if you have earthquake more than 5 minutes, it means something will be happened. But because the husband feel that we have a cow, we have anything that, so I think we have to stay like that. So the important is we have to have a key person in that village that already influence knowledge about how the disaster will be happen, how the risk. So our problem is make the men more welcome to any information, although it come from the wife, from the woman. Like in Minang is a matriarchy, women more higher than the men. But from our discussion, they also put the decision to the men. Women only have a power for the property, but for the decision how they live, men become the first one. Yes,
Esti, I wonder if you wouldn't mind making some comment on the prison. So Esti presented this preliminary research to a group of fellow Indonesians that we had in New Zealand last week. So we had a mixture of central government, so we had the Director of Disaster Risk Reduction for BNPB, the ministry. We had a director from Bapanas, also Ministry for Villages and Transmigration, as well as local government officials in those 4 districts, from BPPD, Public Works, mixture of men and women, so we've got a mixture. And also we had local parliamentarians from and
Donggala.
And Esti presented this information to them, and there was quite a lively discussion afterwards.
They refuse. They refuse our founding. They say like this one, Esti, there is no problem between men and women. I have a lot of students, women. This is the lecture from Bengkulu. So it means women now is already, have a chance to contribute. And the local government also say, there is no problem. But when I asking them, is there any activity that focus on the woman? No. There is no program. So they don't have any attention about women's problem or how to make women participate in the DRR, resilience village or something. They don't have.
The picture you showed with the meeting, the focus group for the meeting, was quite interesting in terms of power relations, because you had all the women on the left.
Yes.
No, the previous one, I think.
Okay.
The one with the GMS.
And most exclusively men on the right,
Yeah.
and then all the foreigners at the back.
Yeah.
in a position of, I would say, a position of power, because looking at everyone. So the picture itself, I mean,
Tell something.
an interesting story.
Yeah.
In terms of power relation, like, who's the woman sitting on the right?
This one?
On the right.
Sorry.
There's one woman. One,
Really?
yeah.
NGO. NGO.
NGO.
Yes.
And the women on the left?
This is from the community, Resilience Village.
So power relations.
Yes.
Interesting.
This is also because also Muslim people will sit woman with woman, man and man.
There's one sitting on the right.
Yeah.
Which
but you can see that the NGO woman feel more more comfortable, and she have self-confidence to sit near the man. I already arranged. Okay, please sir, sit this because I want to mix them. No, I just sit at here.
Most of them actually are on the floor, or that was the only one.
Yeah, in Mataram, I don't know. Yeah,
Sitting on the floor.
but women and women, man and man.
Some of the women's groups, some of the women decided they were going to put it on their agenda of their.
Yeah, after we have a focus group discussion in Mataram, some important women say that, okay, Bu SD, you have to come to Mataram and talk about DRR in our, they have a special day in Indonesia, Kartini's Day. Kartini's Day is one day we celebrate that women can have power, can have participate, can go to school like that. And unfortunately, 1 week before the activity will be due, they phoned me and sorry, SD, there is no budget. I think our budget is for doing with other, not for the DRR. So
There was a little bit of banter between some of the men and women in the focus group in Mataram.
Yeah.
So the men would say this is the response activities.
Yes.
The men would say, we don't think the women are strong enough to do response work, and also women can't be out after dark because it's women who go out after dark and not, it's not appropriate.
Yeah.
And one of the women said, well, roster us on the daytime then. And she also said, but you have women out in the doing labouring as paid work as a labourer. You're saying women can't be involved in response activities.
Yeah.
So she was quite, some of them were kind of trying to be a little bit, provocative for the men and trying to change their view.
Actually, we had a table before with the patriarchy, and matriarchy. Are there instances where they're all together talking? Do you ever see conflicts like that maybe occur where people from the matriarchy feel like patriarchy are oppressing women also?
Yeah. In some situation, this gender relation make problem because they feel that man is more powerful and the woman, although women already have a knowledge, can explain that what will be happened, but because of the patriarchy, the relation become more complicated. And we also found in West Sumatra, although matriarchy, maybe we think that women will be more powerful, but actually women only powerful if they talk about property, but about the decision of their life, it's also depend their husband. Muslim have a point of view that what we will, as a woman, what they will, as a woman, what they want to do is have to asking their husband. And I said, okay, if I go outside, because they have to ask permission going outside. Yes?
The Indonesian context of gender issues and gender roles in Indonesia. It's not only about Muslim, it's about matriarchy.
Yeah.
Because geographically, the eastern part of Indonesia is not Muslim.
Yeah.
The largest population in the eastern part of Indonesia is Christians and Catholic, but still, the gender norms are patriarchy. So, and the interpretations of the religion itself and make it robust.
Reinforces that.
Yeah. So it's a combination between
Yes, combination.
the patriarchy culture and also the interpretation of the religion.
Yes.
Which in some places like West Sumatra, Tita could say more about West Sumatra because she's half West Sumatra. And but yeah, that's what happened in Indonesia about the culture. And sadly, the government of the government officials, those who are in the decision makers decisions, is still influenced by those understanding about the gender norms and gender roles, and also the understanding what gender mainstreaming. They think that we involve women, we invite women to the meeting, mainstreaming gender, instead of thinking really about how to give them the control, how to access, to give them the same access and control and participations, and how to enjoy the benefits of the development. Yeah, so this kind of things will happen, and it's a huge issues about the gender mainstreaming in Indonesia. The understanding what the gender mainstreaming itself within the government still is homework for,
we have to wait.
For all the gender advocates in Indonesia.
Although interestingly, it's in the 2007 disaster law. I mean, women and gender comes quite strongly compared to other laws, but in practice,
it's just a beautiful document.
yeah.
So could you argue that that village that says matriarchy is actually patriarchy, but just less patriarchal than other patriarchies? If the men retains decisions, it's still
For West Sumatra, it is matriarchy, just like what Ibu said.
Yeah.
When it comes to the property, it's matriarchy.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the decision maker, you still have to rely on the uncles.
Uncles. Yeah.
All the uncles are those who make the decision for the family.
Yes.
Not the aunties.
Aunties.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So we are lucky. We are the Indonesian woman, and we are lucky we can go outside. Left my house.
So because of that, I'm going to ask a sensitive question. I guess I would never ask in front of these male government officials. Have you considered involving the warrior?
Sorry?
The warrior, the transgender.
Oh yeah, not yet.
Because if women are marginalized, warrior are even more.
I think more.
That's
more.
nothing compared to.
Yes, I think more marginalized.
But I mean, we've got experience from Merapi of warrior providing support in evacuation center, providing free haircut, for example, and free manicure, and they've been accepted. Initially, they were pushed away from the evacuation center, but ultimately accepted because they started providing free haircut and free manicure and valorizing their everyday kind of skills. And it helped in terms of bridging that kind of gap on the short term, obviously.
Yes.
Although usually you can't see them in evacuation centers when they're high.
Yeah, in special cases.
But this is a large population. I mean, it's a large population, and they are suffering. In terms of gender, I mean, I always think in terms of gender beyond the male-female binary because it's very Western, and this type of society is not Western. So.
We have to make another research now.
It's very, and I'm asking because it's very Austronesian. I mean, in the Philippines, it's important with the Papafine in Samoa, here. It's all over the Austronesian world, and all over we see there's groups who identify themselves beyond the male-female binary. Being very useful and very active in DRR because they can swing from male to female tasks and doing everything in the household, in the community. And in terms of gender in an Austronesian society too, it's an important component to consider. But I understand that Indonesia, which is the context where they are most probably the most marginalized, it's maybe a step too far to start off with, because I mean, sensitive, very sensitive.
Yeah. If we found a warrior in our, in our community, some people will asking, feel strange. So that's why some warrior will it's difficult to join the meeting, and they will live like nobody knows.
The only government office who acknowledge translate warriors the social department, and it's under
group prostitution.
Entertainment?
Group with social department.
Okay. Yeah.
So this is also
Stigma.
Stigma. Yeah. Stereotype.
Problematize it. They problematize that. This label.
Is it because they look at it from a sexuality perspective?
Yes.
I think
Yes. Yes.
Still thinking about how those government officials, and they are not just low rank officials, they are high rank officials, and how this information enrage them. And I'm thinking, if these officials don't really, if your research don't really capture their heart, there's no way they will put money into this movement, isn't it?
Yeah, but we are lucky. Not. In that when I have to present, the group is not only attending. The district is not only attending by one person, but also attending by the head of the legislative and also the university. So we hope that the other stakeholder will give, support to make the head of the district realize that it is important to contribute the issue about women in the DRR.
There were some positive comments.
Yeah.
I think one of the, I can't remember who it was, but one of them said that we need to have some more women programs. That was a guy. So there was some, I think, interesting comments. One quoted statistics, disaster statistics, showing that there are more fatalities amongst men than women. So therefore, why are we concentrating on women? Was it? Did I get that?
Yeah. One of the university asking me.
And some of the comments seems rely on post-feminist argument that there's no problem, look at my children, they are many,
That's right. Yeah.
Or
Look at
he
you.
representing.
Yeah.
I wonder if your presentation represent these women in a way that actually ignore their potentialities, their actually potentialities, and more highlight the vulnerability.
Okay.
And on the other hand, it immediately makes some people deny that. And
Yes.
some complexities like men are stronger than women. Really, if you do the same labor like those women do every day, I don't think you are strong enough, although you are a man. So like the complexities that you say.
Thank you.
What would work best in making women credible in this kind of open space for dialogue? Would it be to actually emphasize their vulnerability or emphasize their capacities, their strength? What would be more credible to government officials? I don't know. What would be more tangible?
Thank you for your perspective. I also think that I have to revise how I present what we found from the research and try to be more different way of talking about women capacity. And their question also make me understand, oh, so I have to find another point of view that make the men more understand that this is still a problem. But otherwise we realize that women more weak than a man.
Maybe some of the quotes from some of the women said in some of the focus groups, the one that said,
Yeah.
We'll roster us on during the daytime, or you think we're weak, but you're okay to have women labourers. Kind of.
Yeah.
You know, the part of that when they say, oh, sometimes we understand it's time to move, but we have to wait for our men to tell us to go. So they know when it's the right time to move. But when we just bring it up, then they understand.
Yeah.
Would it be too unorthodox to ask, have some involvement when you're doing the presentation to these officials?
Yeah.
And ask them, what do you think? You have your slide prepared, but then ask them, what do you think women's capacities are? What do you think they can do?
Yeah.
And then ask them what they can't do. And if they're being defensive, they'll say, oh, they can do anything they want to. And then that's when you come in and say,
an image of your activity.
yeah, and just look at this.
Make it swept forward.
Yeah, that's a really good suggestion. Actually, I want to say just being strategy, like chicken and egg.
Yeah.
For the way that I see it is, and we have to deal with a lot of people that so unchanging in the way they think. So their views are so segmented. They appropriate and reappropriate their own ideologies to everything they say and do. The best way to do it is make them realize. I do it with my 15-year-old sister. To teach her something, I make her realize it. So she will never listen to me. I say something, she won't listen to me. But the way that I do it is I teach her, and then if she comes to the conclusion, she'll be like, yeah, actually, I thought of that. I'm actually quite smart. She walks away. In the end, I did the work, but it's all right. If she walks away with positive. It's amazing.
He does that with his girlfriend as well.
She's smarter than me. I think she's doing that to me.
Thank you very much. Is there any comment or so that make our research more better?
I think it's important because there's not much work on gender and disasters in Indonesia. I mean, works everywhere else in Asia, but Indonesia has been a stronghold of gender research in disasters. I'm not sure about gender in general. But gender in disaster hasn't been much studied, and I think it's an important topic to put forward.
Yeah.
Not only in research, but in policy and practice as well. It's fascinating.
Yeah. Thank you. So.
Any further comments or queries?
Maybe the question you asked in the FCD also. So maybe I don't know about the question, but maybe you can not ask who makes the decision, because they will say the man. But maybe maybe the question, because a different question will give you a different result. So what the women do in the disaster, maybe something like that. So it will give the official this is the woman doing the disaster, not who make the role, and then so it will make that the woman has a less role compared to the man, but in reality they have the same role. So maybe the question or any other, because I don't know. Maybe.
If you ask them who made the decision, they will say the man. But who wear the pants in the house is not always the man.
But I would actually use that kind of setting as a starting point, as an asset, running an image activity where you would ask keep them separate, ask the women, what do you think men's vulnerabilities and capacities actually are, and ask the men what women's vulnerabilities and capacities are, and then swap. And ask the men to read what the women has said about them, and vice versa, and then actually you realize that there are gaps in terms of how we think about ourselves and how we think about others.
Yes.
just to create the connection, but
Yeah.
Using that as an asset, the fact that it's split.
Yeah. Okay.
I think the Johari window would come in.
And Johari window could work as well.
Yeah.
If you do that too, the responsibility too. So Johari window could work with that.
Yeah. I still have 4 districts, so I think I will change the strategy to see how the gaps between this man and woman.
That's fascinating. Any other comments first? Then I suggest that we move upstairs because unfortunately we can't officially eat the break here.
Yeah.